All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to round 2 of 13 of season 7 of Indian Racing League, and which is very much the final season on Formula 1 2021. As now we also have had the launch trailer for F1 2022, so as we move into the new era, so certainly a lot of drivers would be looking forward as I am also looking forward to this race while we just concluded the sprint qualifying in the real life. Most certainly enjoyed the race, was rooting for Charles to win, but Max had the composure and better tire management led him take lead in the penultimate lap, what we saw this evening at Imola. And here we are, Imola, as we saw over the weekend in real life as well. Certainly mixed conditions, and as drivers of Division 1 of this league are encountering a wet qualifying, so definitely a lot to look forward to here. Meanwhile, the drivers Hushrav taking the victory in the opening race of this season. Meanwhile, and also the Mercedes of Azun and Nufshan finishing the podium. So a double podium for Mercedes. So they'll be most certainly, and also going in formation at the moment in the lap there. So for their out lap. So they most certainly would be looking to make some points here and consolidate their constructors as we proceed to the season. Meanwhile, speaking of this season, our defending championship VFix, who didn't really have the best of starts to this season, would really be looking to get some good points here as we proceed to the second round. Imola, a short track, but a track which is fairly pretty narrow and a difficult track for overtaking. And the rain might just make it even difficult for the other drivers, for all the drivers rather, to be able to make some moves as I get my hands first time streaming here, so let me get all the data right for all our viewers here. Okay, Azul and Nufshan definitely on the soft tires here, so that's definitely not a game glitch there. So they like to experiment, as we've always known them to be doing that way. So let's see who is. I think is it Sid? Sid is already on a lap, so let's pick out someone who's up front. Is going to finish his lap. Meanwhile, all those drivers, a few drivers still taking their time to come out of the pits. We've got 16 drivers a total as Epic Brothers sets the first time on board. Meanwhile, PSI Legends, that's more like an outrun for him, just a pre-warm-up before he goes for his final run right now. Just takes the curb just a bit too much as the times keep coming in, as Natsume takes provisional pole at the moment, more than a second up on Epic Brothers, so that's something to look out for. So meanwhile, Epic just looking at just putting in a banker before he really pushes on the throttle, as we see Yash going on the grass on his outlap. So just struggling a bit on turning his car in. That's definitely a tricky set of corners, those left and right handers. Who else is doing? Alright, Azun is right from the softs. He's gone to the extreme choice of wets now, so not sure if he is looking to go for a lap here, and not really sure what the conditions in the race would be like. Is it a dry or a wet start? Meanwhile, talking about that, so we did have our Division 1 race yesterday with mixed conditions, wet qualifying yet again there, and a dry start to the race which ended in a wet. Pretty much the second half of the race was a wet show. So Imola can be a track which can be very unpredictable when it comes to weather. Alright, let's probably pick someone who is going to start their lap. Okay, Tanishq is going to start his lap probably. Takes that curve there. Oh, he's gonna run into the pits. VFix has started his lap. So right now at P3, a second behind Natsume. So Natsume has really put in a competitive time there. Well, just negotiates turn one, goes down, doesn't really look to downshift too much, takes those corners on fifth gear. He doesn't nod a lot of wheel spin there. Another tricky set of corners here. You can really destabilize your car especially on ABS off, but VFix manages that very well as he sets in a purple sector 1. He now goes down through a fast left or a medium speed left-hander in this second sector. Rather being very cautious with the curves while making the most use of it. Slightly misses the apex. Another tricky section here is easy to lose your car. A slight bit of oversteer can send you facing the wrong direction here as he sets in a purple sector 2 as well. Meanwhile, Natsume further improving on his time. He now comes down to the tricky downhill braking zone here. Easy to lock up, but VFix is managing that very well here. He needs a very perfect exit here. Oh, as I see a Red Bull there off, and VFix is almost a tenth behind Natsume. So keep an eye out on these two. Meanwhile, who else is there? Okay, Suraj, you need to help me how to close this start screen. Okay, I'm gonna try. Okay, I hope that does solve Suraj's ask. Meanwhile, VFX has taken provisional pole amongst all the setting changes that I was doing. So VFX, Sume and Hushraf, the typical top 3 that we are really used to seeing in this division. So definitely not sure what the weather is like again during the race, but we really need to keep an eye out on these 3. Meanwhile, Ethan as well, we've always seen him to be driving consistently around as he is now. Is he heading to the pits or he is going to start a new lap now? Alright, we'll keep an eye on him later as the Mercedes of... Okay. He has probably Noobshan has probably invalidated his lap at the last corner, which got him a double invalidation. The Alfa Romeo Shah, he goes P11, so he would be looking to improve sometime over there. As Kavudi gets back into the pits, VFX would surely be coming back into the pits. So. Okay, so probably that it's that lull period of that qualifying session where all the drivers, but we have 3 drivers who haven't put in their laps. I'm not counting Azun because we are used to seeing him retire from the session and start at the back of the grids. So something he's really fond of. Probably just getting a taste of those wet tires in this tricky conditions where I can see some puddles of mud as Snoop Shan spins as he enters the pit. So he would be just getting his head back in the game and probably going for one good run to put a good competitive lap time so that the Mercedes can probably continue their constructor title fight as they've got their good start, a good momentum already. Alright, so I think Yash is a newly promoted driver to Division 1. He had an epic battle with Mayank, another promoted driver to Division 1 from Division 2. A great end to season 6 of Division 2 in the Indian Racing League. These drivers were fighting neck to neck. As we also have Vintage Player, who is a reserve for tonight, along with the likes of Sid Venkatesh and Kavudi, but Vintage Player and Sid Venkatesh being the other D2 drivers who are definitely very clean and consistent and have got some good pace in them. So we need to keep an eye out on them as well as to how much do they match with these Division 1 drivers, as Vintage Player goes P7, almost 2 seconds behind the leaders, so a good lap from him. Meanwhile, alright, so probably looking at his time, Yash is probably going to head back into the pits as Kabudi has invalidated his lap. We have Tanishq is on an out lap, so he will definitely start his lap and want to put in a good time there and challenge the likes of VFX and Hushraf and the others on the grid. Meanwhile, let's go on board with Sid, who has probably started his lap as he now comes close to turn 1. Goes down on third. Doesn't really look at shock stepping in. He's being very careful as he has a car of Tanishq, who has probably pinned his car again in terms of putting in a lap, and he has retired from the session, so that's not the best of news for Tanishq. Sid taking it easy on his second run, but definitely would look to improve on his time. He just misses the apex just slightly there. Now approaching the tricky section of the track, and he misses the apex completely. He probably would be thinking of backing out from that lap now, as who else is Shah has started a lap. The Shah already spent a season in Division 1, but he would really be looking to come back into action didn't have the best of seasons last one, but definitely no lack of pace over there, and takes those curves neatly and beautifully, and probably he does enjoy Imola as a track, so it's probably going. Is he backed out of his lap? I'm not very sure. We come back to him. Who else? I may be getting out of breath as well. So anybody who wants to join me in for comms, please. I'll send you out an invite and I'll get some respite as well. Okay, a lot of drivers probably starting their laps. Hushraf was a 10th up on his lap, had invalidated somehow. He is starting his lap. Sid is improving on his time by a couple of tenths, but that won't really displace him from the grid at the moment. He would still retain P9. PSI Legends has a moment as I just got him there. Not Sume, 3 tenths up on his times. That will definitely put him into provisional pole, which does. Meanwhile, VFX following suit very soon, I believe. It's the Ferrari of Sid that's coming in to finish the lap, and he goes back into the pits, invalidates his lap somewhere. Meanwhile, let's keep an eye out on VFX, who's a tenth up on his time, so not really improving there. He would be looking to recharge his battery and go for another run if he does have the time there to do that, but let's see how that pans out. Meanwhile, Hushrav is also on his run. So what can Hushrav do? He needs half a second to be able to even give any challenge for that pole position as he approaches the final corner, goes early on the throttle, has his car well stable, and takes provisional pole, so that's a great time, finds that half a second that he really wanted to, so the driver's really finding the grip that they need. Meanwhile, VFX is still about for a couple of hundredths down on his time, so he really needs to find that time in those sector 2 and sector 3, but let's see as we come back to him. Yash has invalidated, but he has time to go off for another run as the Alfa Romeo of... Okay, I don't know who that was. Alright, Ethan also a 10th up on his time, so not really, probably may not, or it may, take P3 for him and steal that P3 from VFX as he approaches the final corner. What does he have on his final run in qualifying as VFX on his final run takes pole position, and Ethan not able to improve holds on to P4. Now not Sume is also doesn't have the time to go on the lap. Meanwhile, Hushrav as well is coming back into the pits. Is there anybody who's coming to challenge VFX for pole at the moment? Epic Brothers is setting in purple sectors, but we'll come back to him. Yash Gosalia meanwhile engaging the final couple of corners here as he needs a good exit, keeps his throttle planted very much and has his car to the grip as he approaches and just goes P7, takes up a position, displaces PSI Legends from his mark. Meanwhile, coming back to Epic Brothers, and he finishes his lap at P6, so that is qualifying for you, ladies and gentlemen. A great interesting wet session, so I'd be eager to see what conditions are there in the race, as VFX produces a great lap towards the end. Final part of the session takes pole, Hushrav in P2, not Sume taking P3, so the top three, very typical of seeing them. Meanwhile, Kavudi in the McLaren P4, P5, as we saw in real life as well, P5, P6, so they'll be running in formation. Epic Brothers P6, Yash Kosalia P7, Vintage Player P8, PSI P9, Shah P10, and drivers with free tyre choices: Sid Venkatesh, Mayank, Azun, Tanishq, Jin, and Noob Shan. So last four drivers not really setting in their times, so let's see what kind of tyre choices do they go on to, and what kind of weather do we see in the rain. Do we have a mixed condition, or do we have a fairly dry session? If anybody does have access to anybody's stream, it'll be nice to know what kind of weather we have for the race. Alright, meanwhile, for whoever is watching, what are your predictions for the podium? I am going to go for Ethan, VFX, and Hushrav. So I'm going to still go for safe two choices, but the third choice is I'm going to put my money on Ethan in taking that podium. While we already have some support for Yash flowing in, so we'll definitely keep an eye out on him as to how his race pans out. Meanwhile, as the drivers have taken in their strategy. All right, so so a dry start means a free tire choice for all the drivers here. So all all the top 10, only two in the top 10 going for the mediums with the likes of Epic and Shah. And otherwise, we also have Sid, Mayank, Azun, and Tanishq on the medium tires. So Tanishq unusually not starting on those hard tires, as we see Sume, Hushrav, and Kavudi disqualify from the formation lap. So they'll be probably starting their race on cold tires. We fix. Let's see what kind of how good a start can he get off the grid. So rest of the runners all on soft. So probably looking at their tire choices, it looks like a dry race throughout. But let's see how we do. We cannot see the sun though, so cloudy conditions here. So you never know what happens, and Codemasters can bring in the rain in a matter of a lap. So let's see what they have. The Codemasters have planned for us as VFix engages the final sector and would be just warming up his tires and looking to set himself. Well, there's a huge gap in the formation lap, or there are drivers. Jin has probably spun around or something, so he can really catch up to the grid and get some warm tires there. Probably a straightforward one-stop strategy from softs to mediums here, though the game sometimes also suggests a two-stopper. But a one-stopper is definitely doable if you can nurture your tires very well, and we have the drivers with like Jin, who we know are really efficient tire managers, so we'll keep an eye out on them. How long can they prolong their soft runs, who blinks for the undercut and who tries to prolong, as all the drivers now line up on the grid, and hopefully I should get a decent view. Do okay, I do now. Alright, as 5 lights come through and it's lights out and away we go, and VFix gets a good start. Meanwhile, Hushrav gets a better start and he's already alongside and he's taken lead there. Shrav as they come into turn 1 side by side, coming into turn 1, Hushrav as the outside and VFix has to yield to him. Meanwhile, Ethan posing in a challenge to VFix at that moment, while there are yellow flags of McLaren of Kavudi going behind. That's the biggest of those losers, as Not Sume is down to P4 and Vintage Player gets a great start, as there's a Williams that has gone on the grass, I believe, of Yash Kosalia. And while all those drivers navigate the first sector, we have Yuhushrav who has taken the lead from VFix, who had well, Ethan as well taking P3 here. So a great start for the Haas, and as Hushrav has a moment and VFix seizes that opportunity and takes the lead, and Epic Brothers has already retired from the session. Oh, is that tricky section of this track, and probably that high amount of oversteer has taken his car there, so not the best of starts for VFix, as we have a virtual safety car. Meanwhile, so Hushrav losing 3 positions there after having a great start. That bit of oversteer causing him a lot of positions now. Meanwhile, as we see do we see anybody coming into the pits? No, so no wing damage for any of the drivers, but we do have 2 slow drivers in the likes of Sid and Kavudi, and we see Kavudi in the pits. So he definitely had some kind of contact there down at the run down to turn 1. Meanwhile, let's see what happens and when do the virtual safety car goes out, the drivers maintaining their deltas and keeping their gap as we have green flag conditions as Ethan is posing a challenge to VFix as we come down, and Sume is also looking to get involved there. So great fight there, great show, but I think they still decide to hold positions there as these drivers, an intense battle going on. Not sure, so definitely is still coming down as to the end of lap 2, so we would have DRS enabled as that's a very premature corner cutting penalty that Khusrav has already got, and Vintage player might just be looking at this battle folding up front, and he almost runs into the back of Khusrav and goes onto the gravel trap, but still manages to keep his car alive there, and he almost still doesn't keep his car, and he loses a lot of position as a consequence there, and all the drivers pass, and there has been some kind of incident. Vintage losing a lot and just choosing to go into the pits there, and both the Red Bulls in the pits, so not sure if they made any kind of contact there. Meanwhile, going back, Ethan posing a lot of challenge to VFix, and he is looking really hot on his heels. So probably a DRS train down up to from P1 to P5 with VFix. Now let's see how these drivers manage their batteries, because ERS recovery is really challenging in this Imola or in this track. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of games these drivers play with each other, and especially the pit strategy would also come into picture here, as the grid has pretty much settled down with a few drivers boxing, and almost 2/3 of the field almost close to each other, with the top 4 running away there, or top 5 rather running away. Jin would be eager to just follow the top 4 closely and try making any kind of positions if he can in as the top 4 battle, as VFix has been overtaken by Ethan. I'm sorry I missed that. So we would be looking as Khusrav and Sume have also exchanged positions. So we see a battle for P1 and a battle for P3 that would be unfolding, as we see a yellow flag, and there's is that a Williams? I think that's the Williams of Yash Gosalia that probably had a moment there. But going up back to this battle here, as PSI Legends gets a 3-second time penalty. So this track can be treacherous in terms of penalties, especially if you're finding that time, as we have another yellow flag, a Mercedes and an Aston Martin. PSI has probably lost out on a few positions as well over there. So going back to Ethan and VFix, so let's see what VFix does this time around. He will have DRS, and he would be looking to make that move down as we come down to the run of turn 1, which is the only legitimate overtaking spot on this circuit, as VFix decides to follow him back, and Khusrav also does the same, as Jin also closely observing the battle that's unfolding, as Noopshan and Tanishq going pretty was that Tanishq or yes, that was. So the two Mercedes following the Alpine, so the Mercedes running in formation here, and again Azun making up a lot of positions, and even Noopshan is there, as a matter of fact, making up a lot of positions. So these two would be putting the heat up on the Alpine of Tanishq and try to gain that position, and Tanishq also on those medium tires would just be lacking that tad bit pace as against those softs, but those things might change within a few laps, or probably 3 or 4 laps, as we see the field fairly spreading out a bit. Noopshan really posing in a lot of challenge at Tanishq. So now he should be really lining up his exit down in the final corner, and can Azun follow suit would be the question as we approach, and Tanishq with his defensive guard on. Now let's see what he does. Goes to the inside, and Noobshan makes the move, and Azun has to hold back while Noobshan successfully makes that move. So a battle to watch out for, as PSI Legends is, and he resets to track, so not the best of results for him there, and also has been caught there. So unfortunate for PSI, a big penalty coming your way. As we see, coming back to the leaders, so VFix leading the race. 7/10 behind is Ethan within his DRS, and Hushrav and Sume also within the DRS. Sume within the DRS of Hushrav. So let's see what happens down in this lap. So VFix probably made that move in the previous lap and now is in the lead, or not sure what happened there. As Ethan is taking a peek, but decides to hold back there, and Hushrav also holding that lead. So that's probably the battle to watch out for in this top 4, as Jin has decided to fall back a bit. So not sure if he's trying to prolong his tires and go on a one stop and just follow suit. He is a lone ranger on the track at the moment, but there is an intense battle for P6 that's brewing. Azun still at the back of Tanish. Azun also on the medium, so, and Tanish probably goes a bit wide, and there is a moment and Sume has lost his car in that tricky double right-hander. So that's not great news for Sume. He needs to probably get his head back, and still 25 laps to go in the race, so still a long way, as Noobshan also makes his move past Sume, and Tanish and Sume losing a lot of positions there. And there was a yellow flag again, and there's a virtual safety car, so I'm not sure who had that moment. I think it was Kavudi. Does he have any kind of damage? Oh, he definitely doesn't have a front wing, so that's there, the cause of the virtual safety car, and really has no intention of keeping his car slow while into those corners, and has a spin again and is right across the Red Bull of Mayank. So that was thank God for ghosting on, so that otherwise Mayank would really have his balls in his mouth at that moment, if I'm allowed to use those words on stream. So meanwhile, Noobshan and Sume, probably the two drivers, not sure if Noobshan also had damage, but they are now into a set of mediums, probably looking to take these mediums right up till the end of the race, as Vintage is also in the pits. So we fix Ethan. Not sure if the safety car would last until then, and they would be able to make their pit, as no, it doesn't. So DRS enabled right before the detection point. So let's see what Ethan can do at this moment, as I missed who left the session. So Kavodi has DNF, so not the best of races here for him again. So Ethan looks to make a move on VFX goes on the outside. Ethan tries to switch to the inside, but decides to hold back yet another time. Meanwhile, Hushrav has also thinking of his chances of fancying and giving a battle, as PSI gets another time penalty in the process. So we need to keep an eye out on this top battle for top 3, and we'll have to see how much that penalty, that early penalty that Hushrav has got, how much does it hurt him as we proceed towards this race, as Noobshan hot on Natsume there at the DRS. Just decides to hold back. Still probably will try to follow him down in the next lap. Coming back. So the old D2 runners, they're running together, and Yash might be eager to make a move on Sid this time around. Sid also on the medium tires. While those softs have also run 8 laps, so those tires might just have comparable pace at the moment, as both of those drivers have a spin in formation as Yash makes the most of coasting and comes straight to the track, and Sid has also lost his front wing in the process. Not the best of news for both these drivers. Definitely that corner is proving to be tricky for a lot of drivers, as Ethan is behind VFix yet again, and Hushraf is also following suit. Meanwhile, Jin maintaining his gap there to the leaders, and Tanishq on those medium sets, the front of the medium runners, with Azun hot behind him. So that's a battle to look out for. Just let's have a look at the positions change that we've had so far. Alright, Jin and Tanishq have gained 11 and 9 positions respectively, so that's a great first quarter of the race for them so far. And meanwhile, Azun trying to line up, as well as Ethan, who is side by side alongside VFix, and he makes the move on the outside as they come to turn 1. So now there is the exchange of lead that happens, and meanwhile Azun at the back of Tanishq is going out down on the inside. He goes on the inside and makes the move fairly just ahead on the braking zone. So Azun now leading on those medium sets of tires. Alright, so Sid has come up on the hard tires, so he would definitely be looking to go until the end of the race and see what kind of positions he can make there. Meanwhile, there's a yellow flag for Mayank, who has probably had a spin, and he's managed to keep his car alive as all the other drivers pass him through as he's ghosted, comes on the racing line. Thank God for ghosting yet again. It is saving a lot of drivers on this race. While there's a small mini train led by the Red Bull. The Red Bull of Vintage. Oh, a couple of drivers have gone into the pits, so that train has been broken. Meanwhile, going back to the leaders. Alright, VFix is in the pits and he's gone for those hard tires, so 20 laps on those hard tires, so he could have gone for the mediums arguably, but he knows his tire management well. So let's see what kind of undercut that does this trigger with the likes of Hushraf and Ethan now battling, as Hushraf has taken the lead, so there's quite some action that I might have missed here, as there's a yellow flag for the Williams, or is it the Red Bull? Mayank is not really having the best of races. Probably needs to keep it a little cool for his tires as well, and then probably get his head back in the race, as Hushraf gets in the pits and is followed by Ethan, who is also in the pits. Jin continues, so he would definitely be looking to go on those medium tires, maybe just go a lap or two on these softs, nothing more than that, because that's just going to harm him in the longer run otherwise. Meanwhile, Azun and Tanishq are giving us a great sight, and Azun who still holds on to P2. Tanishq with the 6 seconds of penalties that he has had, or 3 seconds, I beg your pardon. And meanwhile Hushraf as well. So Yash also another receiver, the most recent receiver of the 3-second time penalty. So we're almost halfway into the race, and we can see quite a few drivers with some 6 seconds of penalties. So those track limits definitely posing a challenge for a lot of these drivers, as Mayank is in the pitch, so he would be looking to go. Has he come out on a set of... Oh, and he has retired from the session. It's not the best of races for him. Chooses to retire as Azun and Tanish. Let's see what kind of inroads Azun can make on those mediums to Jin. As now Tanish 9/10 behind Azun, probably a little too hard for him to make the overtake, but he can definitely come in inroads and follow and make his move, plan his move for the next few laps. As there is a yellow flag. Is there a retirement? I definitely saw a yellow flag, and there is... Oh, there is another reset to track by Tanishq. So, and he has also left the session. So Tanishq has made a mistake down on those tricky left and right, fast left and right handers, turn 1 and 2. So not the best of results there for Tanishq, and that's a virtual safety car yet again. But I really suspect I saw another car that was turned around, but I don't know, I'm not very sure. Might just be his car. So VSC, so Jin maintaining his delta. The gap to Azun has gone up from 7 to 9 seconds. So Azun is now closing in on his delta here, as we still have the virtual safety car. So that just neutralizes the entire pack. Not really anybody close to the pits can probably look for a pit stop, but otherwise not really much of an advantage, as DRS is enabled. So we are under green flag conditions now, as Jin came into the pit, so not sure how much that helped him out there, as Azun is now the current leader of our race on those 14 lap old medium tires. So definitely a lot of tire life still there, but that would still be a bit debatable, since these mediums tend to run out around lap 15 or 16. So that's right about the time where the game also gives you that strategy to change your mediums. But if he's been able to manage his tires, so he can definitely go on those stint. Meanwhile, I see PSI Legends, he has not pitted even once. Has he not? He has not, and he has gone 14 laps on those soft tires, so not sure what he is up to at the moment. But let's see what kind of outcome he produces, as everybody is just going past the AI of Tanishq. So Tanish really not frustrated with how things panned out for him, as VFix on those hard tires is at the back of Ethan, who is at the back of Hushra, and now coming down to turn 1, Ethan moves to the left, well, makes the move well before the braking zone, and is straight right on charge, and would be looking to close that gap to Azun as much as he can. So Jin has also out on P5 and has come out 3 seconds behind VFix. So that certainly puts him in a really good spot to contest for the podium. And that's because VFix on those hard tires. So let's see what kind of gap is he able to manage from VFix, while VFix is slightly pulling away, or rather Hushraf and Ethan are pulling off from VFix. So those medium tires definitely having the pace advantage that these drivers need at the moment, as Ethan navigates the final corner, looking to set up his defense yet again for a hungry Hushraf. going behind as Ethan also sets the fastest lap in the race at the moment. So let's see what. Oh, no. A lot of car lengths away from Ethan at the moment. So Hushrav probably in battery conservation mode at the moment and would look to make his moves and follow Ethan as much as he can while they are closing the gap to a zone almost close to about 1.5 seconds per lap. So uh, looking at how a zone is working things out, so look, assuming a 20-second delta pit stop time loss, so a zone would be coming out somewhere around P7 and Shah is also not pitted, so make that probably P6 or somewhere around P6 or P7. And PSI Legends on those soft tires is going on and on, so not sure if he really wants a puncher with those tires. And well, Sume is hot on Shah at the moment and the leaders as well. Let's come back to this battle. Not a really lot of change of positions happening here. Meanwhile, going back to Shah, and Sume has move on Shah even before the straight, so probably Shah having a really bad exit down from there. We would probably look, and also on 17 lap old, so he is also one of those drivers who is yet to make his pit stop. Let's see where he comes out. Nufshan, okay, that's a ghosted car. So meanwhile, Ethan has also pulled away from the DRS, within the DRS range of Hushrav, and yeah, I think he was more than a second behind at the detection line. Meanwhile, VFix getting some help from his teammate and getting that DRS, and now he'll be able to pull slightly a bit away from Jin, who was definitely closing in onto VFix. So we need to keep an eye out on Ethan, Hushra, VFix and Jim, who are really poised in a really good position to getting that podium there. Meanwhile, there is a yellow flag as Sume has a moment again. Not the best of races for Sume, as he also probably does not have a front wing as well, so he would probably need to come out on a set of softs and try to take that to the end of the race and see how that pans out. But the good part for him is Yash is 35 seconds behind, so probably he might just have a 5-second advantage to Yash by the time he gets out of his pit lane or not. I'm not very sure, but that might just be very close, a battle that we might just be able to see towards the latter part of this race, as this field has fairly split up, not a lot of battles going on. Meanwhile, Nufshan has Nufshan also left the session? Oh, I didn't realize that, so that's probably the reason why these two are just so close to each other. So, but he was also the lobby leader, so I hope there's not a lot of damage done to the other drivers. Alright, so Yash is now 11 seconds behind him, so he would definitely be there ahead of him, fairly clearly ahead. So that front wing does tend to lose a lot of time. Meanwhile, PSI Legends, I don't know, I think he's really on testing the limits of those soft tires. So I'm just amazed how that car hasn't gotten a puncture yet. But or is it a game glitch? I don't know. I really don't have no clue what to call here. Meanwhile, so Ethan is fairly pretty comfortable and is probably the net leader of our race with Azun onto the 21st lap on his set of mediums. So that's a great run from him. It would be interesting to see where he comes out though when he finally decides to pit for his mandatory change of tire compound. Meanwhile, Jin gradually closing in by a couple of tenths per lap, I believe, on VFix. So those hard tires would also have come up onto the right temperatures, and those mediums are also fairly pretty new and young for Jin. So let's see how this battle unfolds. Well, PSI has finally decided to pit now. 21 laps on softs, 20 laps on softs, and now 12 laps on mediums. So that's really the inverse of an alternate strategy, or the extremes of an alternate strategy. I'm not sure how to summarize that, as he just has a moment as he exits the pit lane on those cold tires, as Azun also decides to pit. So Ethan is now in the lead of the race with Hushrav a couple of seconds behind him. So let's see if Hushrav can really preserve those tires and try to come in inroads in the last couple of laps, as we saw Max doing it on Charles. As we have a yellow flag for Natsume again on those softs. So a race to forget for Natsume indeed. So definitely running P10 if he can probably get his head back, and he's running very slow there, so not sure what's happening there, as there is another yellow flag for Sid Venkatesh, was it? Not very sure. Shah is also in the pits for a fresh set of softs, so, and Yash passes him by on those 11 lap old mediums, so he just comes out a couple of seconds behind, almost to make that 1.5 second behind, and he's already making inroads on Yash. So that's something to look out for the old. And I see the Williams of Yash going really wide there, and a battle unfolded way too soon, and it was fairly easy peasy for Shah to take that position, as Natsume chooses to end his dismal race stint here, and no points probably for him in this race, as Hushrav has made slight inroads onto Ethan, but those 3 seconds might just hurt him in the process, as VFix is within that range at the moment, and Jin has probably fallen back a bit. So those hard tires have really charged up for VFix, as there is another yellow flag for, oh, that was the retired car of Natsume that came out on the track. Okay, what else do we have here? So fairly a split out. I see a few cars, but I'm probably guessing those are the AI cars. So Sid getting past, yep, the AI of Tanish. Okay, I think, oh yeah, I should have done that. I can't invite, I'm sorry. It shows an error to me, and not sure who the session host is. So Noobshan, that's the premature end to your race, unfortunately. Alright, so Hushrav is making inroads, so Ethan really needs to be mindful of that gap as Yash gets a speeding, pit lane speeding penalties. So not the best of races for Yash as well. As Azun has come out in P5, so that's a good pit stop. So now let's see what kind of impact he can have up on Jin, and can he take that P4 from him, as Jin is falling back from VFix. So and VFix is managing that gap to Hushrav and staying within those 3 seconds, so he can really come back and take that P2. Ethan, but I might just would have to take my words back, as Hushrav is gradually closing inroads, but anything can happen here, so I don't know what to see. But and Sid has retired from the session, and that's a safety car. Oh, that has made things really interesting now, haven't they? So what does Ethan do? What does Hushrav do? What does VFix do? VFix should definitely go on a new set of softs, but Ethan, the current leader of the race, would be the one who will have to take the hard call or the gamble. And let's see what he does as he now comes across the final corner, close towards the entry of the pit lane, and Ethan makes a dummy and stays outside. Meanwhile, Hushrav, not sure if he went to the dummy or he had decided to pit. Oh. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm still live with the streaming, but I'm assuming I am. That's Hushrav, VFix, and Azun has gone for a fresher set of softs, surprisingly. While he could have also gone for track position, but let's see how that unfolds. So he definitely can still maintain his P5 there, as Jin has also decided to continue. So the top two in on more than 10 lap old medium tires would definitely be hunted down by fast drivers of Hushrav, VFix and Azun. And also Shah can definitely look to make some kind of positions, but looking at how things stand, so the safety car would stay around on this lap, so lap 28 is when we would probably begin racing again, and that would mean 3 laps of DRS. So definitely Hushrav and VFix. VFix would really be smelling victory here after that DNF in Australia. So, and so would Azun. Might just be looking for a podium spot there. So would be interesting to see how this medium versus soft battle unfolds for the last 5 laps or so of racing that we might just see. Meanwhile, I'll just be back in a jiffy. I'm gonna take a break. Alright, safety car in this lap. So 5 laps of pure racing to be seen. So unlikely that we might just have a crash and have another safety car. So let's hope we don't have any more DNFs, and all the drivers, not sure about Noob Shan though, but all the drivers barring Noob Shan and Tanish would definitely be scoring points here. So a successful points finishing stint for all the drivers. So that's a good positive takeaway for all of them, as Ethan has decided to go, and Jin has probably the 1.2 second gap because of the ghosted car of, or the ghosted Williams, and I'm not sure whose car that is. So Ethan getting a 1.2 second gap, that's a good gap to build, while Khosrav has further been caught napping over there, and he's 2 seconds behind Jin, and VFix is hot on his heels here. So let's keep an eye out on these drivers, and if they look to make any moves before the DRS is also even activated. So meanwhile, the medium runners really would be feeling blessed at the moment, seeing that they have the soft hunting drivers, or the hunters of Khosrav and VFix a second behind now, but they are coming in really close, really soon, as now already under a tenth. So these soft runners would probably not be waiting for DRS, or maybe potentially we still have a couple of laps of running before the DRS activation can actually legitimately be done by these drivers. So let's see how this gap goes down, as Ethan is pulling away from Jin. So probably looking at Ethan would really be looking at probably posing a last lap defense, if at all, because he has been able to pull off almost 2 seconds to Jin, who is already under a lot of threat from Khosrav and VFix and Azun as well. So all these drivers within a couple of seconds of each other. As Jin has a moment on those medium tires, so not the best of exits, as Khosrav is almost alongside and they rub wheels, and Khosrav has to cut the corner in the process and gets another 3-second time penalty, and VFix tries to make the most of this moment and chooses to hold back in these penultimate final couple set of corners, as they now following each other closely. Now Jin would really be under threat from Khosrav, as DRS is now enabled, but these drivers can really put the trigger on in the next lap, as we see the red light flashing for Jin already. So both VFix following Khosrav and also making the move on Jin. So Jin just being wary of those fresh softs and against his old mediums, and not being too aggressive on his defense there. Meanwhile, also now under attack from Azun. So Azun would also be looking to get a really good exit, probably on the the tricky double right-hander, and try to challenge him wheel to wheel on the next set of corners, as he's really at the back of that Aston Martin now. Now Jin really struggling on those old mediums. Azun has a bit of moment, but he's holding back there behind Jin, as Jin has a few more corners to fight, or to live rather, as now he loses. Khosrav making inroads on Ethan. So these are the last couple of laps or the last lap where Ethan might really have to pull out a solid defense, but I believe I just saw, okay, I see a lot of red lights flashing. I see Khosrav's red light flashing, Ethan's red light flashing, so they're definitely low on battery, and this might just hamper them in the final lap. And VFix, whose red light isn't flashing but isn't high on a lot of batteries there, so pretty much comparable for the top three here, as Azun has made a move on Jin, probably with the DRS over there, and Jin now 3 seconds behind Shah, so he would really be looking to hold back as Yash gets another time penalty in the process. So now Azun, alright, so that was somebody, was that Williams? Yeah, the Williams of Yash who had a moment there at the tricky double right-hander, as now the final chance for Hushrav to take the lead of the Imola Grand Prix, as Hushrav, within a couple of tenths, closing in on those softs and pulls to the side of Ethan, makes the move there. No need for the battery. His tires are doing the job for him. Is VFix able to go? He's going alongside Ethan and they're side by side. VFix has to take the sausage curb and he gets his car unsettled in the process, and he probably will have to stick back for P3 at the moment. As Hushrav with those 6 seconds of time penalties, let's see where that puts him in the process. That might just push him down to P5 with all those runners gaining that position. So let's see, let's have a look at how this race unfolds, as VFix really on the back of Ethan, and Ethan still, VFix gets a great exit on those soft runs. They're going side by side, a bit of wheel rubbing. Ethan has to cut the corner and gets a 3-second time penalty in the process, so he will not be really happy under that helmet, and now he lets Ethan VFix pass as well. So some abrupt braking at that moment, and also Ethan and Azun are side by side in this process. So Hushrav takes the checkered flag on the track. Meanwhile, VFix takes the win of the Imola Grand Prix. Azun in P2 and Hushrav in P3. So the gap, oh, that was interesting. So not sure how that gap was towards the end, but that was really a breathtaking final lap, and not sure what happened, but definitely a bit of controversy there would come in. Ethan would probably go to the steward's room and fight for his penalty be removed, but let's see how that pans out too. We just, like we always say, the three golden words: pending stewards inquiry. So pending stewards inquiry, we have VFix who has taken the win, Azun in P2, Hushrav in P3, Ethan in P4, Jin, great tire management from him, and right from P15 to P5, and also Azun from P13, Shah in P6, PSI Legends P7, Vintage Player P8, Yash Kosalia P9. So the legitimate finishers of the race. Tanishq with that almost that front wing damage and leaving the session on P10, and Nufshan in P11, the finishers of the race. Right. So a very interesting last set of laps that we had, the mediums versus softs. So really a great sight. So let me just, oh, I'll have to, alright, my apologies viewers, I might have to show you a blue screen until I invite our podium getters to the alright, I hope folks join the party soon. Oops, oops. Oi. Alright, guys, just a minute. Let me also invite. Can one of you add a Zune to the party? I. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's give him a couple of minutes to join in. All right. So until he joins in, probably we can start with our P3 for the day, Hushrav. So, Shrav, great race from you. Congratulations on that P3. A couple of early time penalties for you there. So, take us through your race. How did it go through your qualifying and your race, and how did those penalties? How much did that play with your head? Yep, and a consecutive run of podiums as well, and definitely we hope to see you again every time. Not every time, or as much as we can. That'll go through. But a great race from you. So despite cold tires, it was a good start from you. You got VFix right after turn one. So congratulations on P3. All right, all right. Has Azun joined us for the party? I'm not sure. Oh, great. Azun, so great show right from the back of the grid. Not really putting in a qualifying lap, but keeping your head there. A great run stint on those medium tires. So congratulations on that for starters. And take us through your race. How did it work out for you? What kind of decisions were you making? Whoa, great shout outs for a lot of ones. So congratulations to you as well, Azun, again. So consecutive podium for you as well. And Mercedes versus Haas continues as Ferrari would be poised to get in the fight with VFix. Great race, congratulations, VFix. Not the best of the start for the season in Australia, but you put in a great show, a great final qualifying lap, and a great race without any penalties. Talk us through your race. Yep. P1 pending stewards inquiry, nonetheless, but a great show, great result. P1 is definitely a great result. So, congratulations to all our podium sitters, and thank you for all the viewers who have joined in for this stream tonight. So, next week, do tune in again. Friday, we race Portimao, I believe, for Division 2, and then Saturday, 9:45 p.m. IST again for the Division 1 race. Yeah, kudos to that. Learning from all of you folks. So that was a great show, and we hope to see you guys on consecutive podiums again. So, and a goodbye to all our viewers out there.